Welcome to the Academic Writing Amplified podcast. On this podcast, we believe that the culture of academia needs to change radically. Women and non-binary people are revolutionizing academia within institutions that were not built for us. If you're ready to reject the culture of overwork, kick guilt and overwhelm to the curb, and amplify your voice to make a real impact on your field without breaking down or burning out, you're in the right place. With our team of experienced writing coaches as co-hosts, we'll share insights and talk to inspiring guests to bring you the practical strategies, systems, and mindset shifts you need to find time to write, publish work you love, and design your career on your terms. And it all starts with writing. Let's go.
I'm Kathy Mazak, creator of the Navigate program, and this is a lot of FAQs. These are all the questions that we often get asked about the Navigate program. I'm just going to jump right in. You can hop around to the timestamps to see the answer to the question that you have. All right, so let's start. The first, what is the experience of the Navigate program, or how does it work? So Navigate has two main components. The first one is 12 weeks of recorded content. So that means we have a learning management system, a portal, where each week program content for that week is released. It's about between half an hour and 45 minutes worth of content. It'll take you that long, plus maybe 10 or 15 minutes to do exercise or the handout that goes with that content. And so that's like the recorded part, content, the meat of the program. Then every week as well, you have a 1 hour live call. Now, the live call alternates between a coaching call where you can ask questions, where we dive deeper into the coachy parts of the material. So not just the how-to, but the mindset and all the things that help support you as you're trying to make big changes in your career and in your writing to publish that backlog of papers. We alternate between coaching and co-writing. And co-writing is just all get on the Zoom and we work on our writing together. Now, this is designed to create a regular writing rhythm in your week. So we ask you to choose like about an hour to do the content, put that on your calendar as an appointment, and then about an hour, well, exactly an hour for our call. And so you're already building in during our 12-week Navigate program, 2 hours a week dedicated to improving your writing practice so that you can publish your backlog of papers. So that's the experience of the program. It is lovely. We are all together in different backgrounds and different fields and different moments or stages of the career. And that is one of the wonderful things about the program. All right. Next question. Question 2. Is this the right time for me to do Navigate, or should I wait? Okay, I love this question because it really means you're really thinking about the program and what is best for you. So I see people joining Navigate kind of fall into two groups. There's kind of like the summer people, the people who are like, well, I would rather do this program at a time when I'm not teaching or when my schedule is a little bit different. And then there's the semester people who are thinking, well, I really need to be able to write during the semester, so I should be able to participate in Navigate during the semester. So that's something to consider, is like, where do you see yourself falling into those kind of two groups of people? Also, many people do try to do Navigate or choose to do Navigate in semesters when their teaching load is less or when they're on sabbatical. And I just want to say that that is nice, but not required. Again, Navigate is designed to be a program that helps you get your writing and publishing done, that helps you clear your backlog of papers during your regular, everyday professor life. So not when you're on a sabbatical, not when you're on a research leave, just the regular time that you have to juggle all the things that you always have to juggle. And so, yes, you could be thinking, oh, I have a particularly heavy semester, so maybe I should wait. And maybe you should wait. But I would say that just having a heavy semester is probably not a reason to wait, because during the Navigate program, you're going to be making your schedule less heavy. Like that is one of the purposes of the program. That's some of the work that we do during the program is that. Now, here's the caveat. If you are traveling a lot, so you are going to miss a lot of the live meetings, then I would say, okay, think about it. Maybe it's not the best if you know you have, a bunch of conferences or you're going to be traveling so that you can't come, especially to the coaching calls. Because I really feel that there are questions that are technical. There are things that you learn in Navigate that are technical, like a how-to. And then there's the things in Navigate that need extra coaching, that need a change in mindset. And that's what we really accomplish on the calls. Okay, so is it the right time for you? Only you can answer that question. Another way to ask it, though, is how soon do you want to be with your papers out in the world? So the sooner you get started, the better. How much time will it take is another question we ask. I guess that's question number 3. How much time will it take? As I mentioned in the first question, about 2 hours a week. 1 hour to consume the content and 1 hour to participate in the live call for 12 weeks. Okay. Here's another question we get. Question 4 is career stage. Is this the right time for me to do Navigate because I am in X career stage? So let me say this, first of all. Navigate is created for professors. It's not for graduate students, and it's for professors at every stage of the career. The reason for that is that you can have a backlog of papers when you're pre-tenure, post-tenure, early career, mid-career, late career. The method for publishing your backlog of papers, the system that we teach in Navigate for doing that is the same, no matter what. No matter where you are in your career, the system is the same. So if you have the problem of having a backlog of papers, then Navigate is for you. Now, sometimes, depending on the circumstance, we have people apply for Navigate or want to do Navigate who are postdocs or full-time researchers or even part-time researchers or something else. We also have very rarely, but still it happens, people who haven't finished their PhD yet, but they're in basically full-time professor line. Okay. All of those, that is on a case-by-case basis. Please apply if you fall into that category. So we don't say you cannot do the program if you're a postdoc. You just need to go through our application process just to make sure this is actually the right fit thing for you to do, no matter where you are. That's why we have the application process, right? That is going to be how you figure out whether it is, if it's for you in the career stage that you're in. But the short answer is, if you have a backlog of papers and you are a professor, it is for you. Navigate is for you. Okay, next question. Is Navigate for me if I'm an administrator? And I love this question, and I'm so happy to tell you, yes, it is. We have administrators take our program all the time. We have people who are deans taking the program. We have people who are department chairs. We have people who are program directors. And Navigate helps them with their backlog of papers. So if you are an administrator who either that you both need to and want to publish, Navigate is the program for you. We work with administrators all the time. So don't worry if you're in admin and you're like, yeah, but I really want to keep my publications up. Navigate is for you. All right. Is there a group time outside of the 1 hour per week call? This is a question we sometimes get. No. The only time that we meet as a group is on the live call that happens once a week for an hour. The only place where you can get your questions answered, from a person live, talking to you, is on those calls. We don't have a Facebook group. We don't have a Slack community. We don't have any asynchronous ways of answering content and coaching related questions. If you have a question about your credit card information or paying for the program or anything like that, logistics, if you have problems with the Zoom link or anything like that, then you can write to support with those questions. But anything that is like about the curriculum, you will come to the calls and get your questions answered on the calls. So there's no extra time commitment that you need to like check a Facebook group or do something. Just the time for being with us as a group is on the call. Now, sometimes people in the Navigate program are interested in creating additional co-writing times outside of our program. And in that case, we sometimes will share just like a Google Sheet and people can put their emails in there if they're interested in that. But that happens kind of outside of the program itself. All right, here's another question we get a lot. What if I have to miss a call? Yes, there are 12 calls. As I've already mentioned, that's something that I really want you to be able to do is be at the calls. So some people will kind of look at their calendars and say like, oh, well, I'm going to miss 2 or 3 calls. 2 or 3 calls is fine. We, as a general like rule of thumb, I recommend you don't miss more than 30% of the calls. Okay. So people miss calls all the time. It is not a big deal. You don't want to miss more than about 30% of the calls, if possible. Now, if you do miss a call, if it's a co-writing call, there's not much that we can do to make up that call, right? But if you miss a coaching call, every time that we have a coaching call, we put the curriculum or the guide questions for the coaching call into our learning management system. So you will see those questions ahead of time, ahead of the call. You can use them. If you can't make it live to the call, then you can use those questions to journal. Maybe they'll spark more questions from you that you could bring to the next call. We do not record calls for privacy reasons. All right, here's one. Do I get to keep the recorded modules? You do get to keep the recorded modules for 1 year, or I should say too, like for 1 year since your last enrollment. So Navigate is a program that you can enroll in additional rounds. So you can do round 1 for kind of like the full program price. And then for a greatly reduced price, you can enroll in additional rounds. We keep those 2 groups in terms of the calls separate. So round 1 people are always on their own call, separate from the round 2 plus people. So whenever is the last time you enrolled, whether it's for round 2, 3, 4, a year from that time is how long you can keep the recorded modules, because in the additional rounds, the recorded modules don't change. It's all the same content. The coaching changes and up levels as you go through rounds. But also, if you just wanted to do 1 official round of the program and then continue to deepen your mastery in the different parts, the different outcomes of the program on your own, you have the recorded content for a year in order for you to do that. All right. Is Navigate for book writers? Okay, so we get a lot of people in humanities. We get people in all fields, first of all, just so you know. But we do occasionally get book writers who are like, well, is Navigate going to help me write my book? Navigate is not a book writing program. It is not for that kind of the specific complexity of book writing, but it is for writing and publishing. So if what you're trying to do is get better at your writing project management, build your writing practice, control your pipeline, and all of those things, make your schedule better so that there's room for writing, that's what Navigate's about. During the Navigate program, we ask you to choose what we call a low-hanging fruit article. And that is an article that you're going to move to submission throughout the program. So by the end of the 12 weeks, you're submitting your low-hanging fruit article. And we do have some curriculum around that helps you keep moving that article forward every week. If you're a book writer, you could certainly also publish an article, obviously, but you could use that maybe for a chapter or for some other, maybe for like a conference paper or something like that. But do know that we refer to the low-hanging fruit often as an article. So book writers just come in aware that we're going to be talking about articles, but it's not about like the content or the like how to write an academic article. It's how to project manage a writing piece that is the length of an academic article. All right. So next. Oh, is Navigate for people in my field? So sometimes, and maybe if you've been following me for a really long time, like you'll know that I am a linguist. I'm in linguistics. Education is my background. And so some people think like, oh, this is for humanities and social sciences, but it is absolutely not. I say that Navigate is field agnostic. It is for all fields of study. And we have had people from every kind of field of study take the program. We've had historians, we have social scientists, we have literature people, but we also have many, many people in public health, even academic medicine and biology and all the kind of hard sciences, engineering, all the kinds of different kinds of fields are included in our groups. It is a beautiful thing. In fact, it is one of the best parts of the program that you are in a room with people from all these different fields of study. And the systems that you learn to publish your backlog of papers work for everyone, regardless of field. It is not specific to field. And that is actually one of the beautiful things about the program. Right. Here's something that actually I'm doing a podcast series about this right now. Co-authors and writing with my students is slowing me down. Can Navigate help me? Yes. One of the big ideas that I hope my podcast series is going to put out there in the world is that in order to be a good co-author with either with colleagues or with students, you need to have your ducks in a row. So you need to get your house in order to be the best co-author you can be. And that includes co-authoring with students. So you might be thinking like, oh, but I don't have any control over my publication pipeline because everything is in the hands of everybody else. Navigate is a program that will empower you to take control. Navigate is about your agency and enacting your agency in the world, including in your relationships with co-authors. So yes, this is going to help you. If you have a clogged up pipeline because of co-authoring or writing with students, Navigate will help you. All right, here's a question. How big is the cohort? So I'm going to be 100% honest here. I don't know. Because every time we do a launch, by launch, I mean enrollment, every time we have an enrollment period, we kind of try to attract as many people as possible into the program. That's because I have a mission to help 1,000 academics significantly alter their career experience by 2030. So that is like my little mission that I'm on. And that means that I want to attract as many people as possible to the Navigate program. Now, for 2023, each of our cohorts had between 12 and 14 members. Then in summer 2024, we actually lowered the price from $4,500 to $3,000, and we got 25 or 26 people enrolled. I didn't split the cohort for that round. I ran the room with 26 people in it. We used breakout rooms, and I think that we still get a really great peer experience with a room that big. However, if we were to get 30 or 35 or 40, I would start to think about maybe I need to add an additional call time to our program and run in you choose your cohort time. But right now, that is not what we're doing. So again, like very transparently and honestly, like I am not going to solve the problem of do I have too many people in this program until I have the problem. And I don't yet have that problem. So for now, you can expect between 20 and 30 people in the room, in the Zoom room. Again, we strategically use breakouts so that you get to work together with a smaller group of people and get to know more people from the program. If you join us for an additional round, those tend to be smaller just because we have about between 30 and 50% of the people who take round one will take round two. So we're talking about a room with more intimate coaching. So a 10 or 12 person room, again, as of right now, but I can't tell you exactly how many people are going to be in the room because we don't cap. As of right now, I'm not capping. I wait to see how many people enroll, and then I might make a decision to split the group, but I might not. So that is the honest answer about how big is the cohort. Here's a question that we get sometimes. You have some other programs. Is Navigate the right one for me? So it is true that in the past, I had other programs. So if you found me by listening to the podcast, you will have heard in back episodes of the podcast previous to 2023, you might have heard me talk about other programs. But as of right now in the recording of this video, I only have one program, and that is Navigate. You can take it over and over again, round 1, 2, 3, 4. But for right now, the only program that I have is Navigate. So you don't have to make that decision, because after all of this time, I really was like, no, Navigate is the program. It is the 101. It is the thing everybody needs before they move into their next phase of development as an academic. I feel very certain of that, especially after running programs that didn't require Navigate first. I'm like, nope, everybody needs Navigate. That is really my true belief. Okay, here's one that I just occasionally get is Navigate for people who do public scholarship. So with so much emphasis on publication pipeline and on, low-hanging fruit article and that kind of thing, some people might be like, well, what if I do kinds of writing that are more public scholarship, like writing for the media and that kind of thing, or however public scholarship looks like for you. It is if you have a backlog of papers, like Navigate is for publishing your backlog of papers. Now, if all of those are still like articles for the New York Times or for your local community newspaper or for whatever, it kind of doesn't matter what kind of writing it is. If you're backed up with your writing, Navigate is a program for you. And we love public scholarship. I'm, definitely. Okay, here's the last two questions. One is, I've already done another writing or coaching program, like maybe NCFDD. How is Navigate different? Or should I do Navigate since I've already done a coaching program before? So if you found my podcast, which is how most people get to know me, or my book, you'll be able to see how what I teach is different from what else is out there. And I think you probably are getting my emails because you liked something about what I had to say. My perspective on publishing your backlog of papers and why we have such a backlog of papers, especially as women and non-binary professors, that perspective is infused into Navigate. So the content that you see in my podcast, in my book, is that take, which is basically that women and non-binary professors take on most of the work because of the racist, ableist patriarchy. We get dumped on by service. We find it harder to say no and control our schedules because we justifiably fear retribution and that kind of stuff. Like all of that is part of my take on everything. And so it is also part of Navigate. The other part of this is like, I think a lot of people have done NCFDD, which is a program that, if you don't know what it is, it's a program. I think the most important thing to know about the program is that most people take it because their university has an agreement with that company to offer it to their professors. Because of that, NCFDD is a program for everyone. Navigate is a program for women and non-binary professors who want to make a difference in the world and have their voice heard and have done such a good job of being a colleague and a scholar that now you have a backlog of papers. Like that's who Navigate is for. We attract people who sit at intersections of fields. We attract many people of color to our programs and queer people. I couldn't be happier with that. Like that means that my messaging about what I see as the difficulties and the injustices of academia, like that messaging is hitting. People are understanding that's what I'm about. That's what our Navigate program is going to be about. And that Navigate is going to offer you a really human approach to academia, which is something that is often missing. Okay, so my suggestion is if you've already done a program, that's great. Now, maybe it's time for you to do Navigate. All right, and the final question. I've listened to all of your podcasts. What more can you possibly teach me? So I love this question because I'm going to take it in the positive light, which is that you feel that the podcast teaches you a lot. And I'm really happy about that. Think about like if you had a student come to you and say, I watched a YouTube video about your field of study. What could you possibly teach me? It's the same thing. What I say publicly on the podcast is meant to give people like a taste of my philosophy, my approach, the kinds of things I talk about in the program. But it does not teach you what Navigate teaches you. Navigate is a curriculum. It has an order to it, and it is built for you to change the way you do academia. It is built for you to put writing at the center of your career so you can publish your backlog of papers and stop being overworked. It is built for you to increase your self-trust, your self-compassion, and to get your voice heard in the world at the same time. I just want to say, it is not the same to watch a few YouTube videos or listen to a podcast about a topic and to study it. And you know that. I probably pretty deeply. So if you think that Kathy Masek, she's got nothing else up her sleeve, I teach Navigate like a step-by-step, deeply ordered, intentional way. And it is not the same as what is on the podcast. If you're really worried about this, then I want you to start listening to the podcast with the ear for what versus how. So on the podcast, I'm often talking about what is the problem? And maybe even what's the solution to solve it? Oh, your solution is you need to develop self-trust. How to develop self-trust? That's what we teach inside of Navigate. So if you've thought, oh, well, I've listened to all the podcast episodes, she can't possibly have anything else to teach me, I would beg to differ. And because on purpose, there's a teaching line I don't cross when I'm recording the podcast. But then also I would say, if what you've learned on the podcast has solved your problem and you don't have a backlog of papers, then great. Then you don't need Navigate, right? But if you've listened to the podcast and it's helped you somewhat, but you know that there's more, that more is in Navigate and you should enroll today. So if you're watching this video and enrollment is open, apply now. If you have other questions, please send them to us. You can write to me at Kathy@scholarsvoice.org. You can write to support@scholarsvoice.org with any questions you have so I can make more videos like this, because I'll guarantee that you're not the only person who has the question. Have a wonderful day and thanks for listening. Bye.
Thank you so much for spending your valuable time supporting yourself and your writing by listening to this episode. If you like what you heard today, the best way to say thank you is to hop on over to Apple iTunes and write an honest review. The more reviews, the more amazing academic women and non-binary people will find this podcast. So go write one now.